Well, just to say, I think Abu Dhabi have done a fantastic job in hosting this 13th Ministerial Conference. It's been very, very efficiently and well run. I think the UK priorities, we have a lot of priorities, but probably our three largest priorities are e-commerce, making sure the e-commerce moratorium rolls over. We don't want to see the WTO, the world, going back 20 years in trade to the idea that electronic transactions can be taxed, kind of customs duties put on them. Our second priority is to move forward particularly on fisheries, make sure that we make fisheries more sustainable. We remove subsidies that lead to unsustainable or overfishing. That I think is really important to keep fish stocks in the world. They've been heavily depleted the last decades. We need to reverse that. And the third area is on dispute settlement, making sure that gets, we move forward there. And also on development, making sure that the developing world, the IFD proposal, the enhanced integrated framework, all these things where we're helping developing countries take fuller participation in the setting of world trade rules. That is also really important for the United Kingdom. We need to make sure that trade and the WTO works right the way across the world.
سأعود طبعا معك تفصيلا لكل هذه النقاط، ولكن دعني أبدأ بأهم ملف، الملف الشائك، وهو ملف آلية تسوية المنازعات. هل تتوقعون أن يكون هناك اتفاق أو ربما تقدم نستطيع أن نقول حقيقي، وخصوصا أنه هذا العام هو عام انتخابات بامتياز بدءا من الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية وليس انتهاء ببريطانيا؟
Look, I'm neither over-optimistic nor over-pessimistic. There is a draft there. The UK, we produced our own paper at the World Trade Organization last year, looking at what might be done. The key thing is what the United States will do. The US is still participating in this, so I don't want to be over-optimistic nor over-pessimistic. We decided at MC12 to get something done in 2024. We now need to deliver on that and deliver reform to the dispute settlement mechanism.
نحن نعرف بأن دولة الإمارات تحاول العمل بشكل جدي على هذا الملف. كيف ترى خارطة الطريق الموضوعة والمناقشات؟ هل هناك إيجابية في هذا الملف؟
Well, I think on dispute settlement, I don't think we're expecting a the finality to be decided here at MC13. I think we do need to move things forward, and we do need to feel confident that we're going to deliver on what we agreed at MC12, which is to find a resolution in the year 2024. That is the UK position. We would like to see some serious moves forward there. But in terms of a breakthrough here at MC13, I'm not sure.
سأعود إلى نقطة أيضا ذكرتها في مستهل الحديث، وهو الإعفاءات على المنتجات الرقمية. هل تتوقعون أن يكون هناك تجديد لهذه الإعفاءات أم ملف شائك آخر تتعاملون معه؟
Well, look, I think it's so important, the moratorium on e-commerce transactions and not having taxation on them. I think it's so important for the world that this don't happen, and the main beneficiaries will be developing countries. So whilst there might be a temptation, a government sort of sees this as a potential place to get some revenue. By adding to bureaucracy and intervening in electronic transmissions, that is actually going to cost economies a lot more, and particularly developing world economies, it will cost them the most. So we would ask everybody to be far-sighted on this, not near-sighted. Think about the impact on their economies, and as I say, particularly developing countries. We reckon that some developing countries, whatever they might raise in duties, would be dwarfed by the loss in GDP of 20, 40, even 50 times. So this is a temptation that everybody should avoid. It would be a really backward, retrograde move on world trade, and would take us back to the 20th century, and that's not the right place to be.
ضمن الأمور المنتظرة هي اتفاقية التجارة الحرة ما بين دول الخليج وما بين المملكة المتحدة. أين تقف المفاوضات اليوم والمحادثات، ومتى ستبصر النور بشكل نهائي؟
Well, I think the FTA with the GCC is very important for the UK. It's an incredibly important region for the UK. We do £59 billion sterling of trade each year. This is a really big trade partner for the UK. The UK, if you like, is disproportionately important for trade for the Gulf. Bigger than many of our competitors around the world. So Really important for the UK. We think the deal, depending on what's in the deal, could grow trade by around 16%. So it's a really important deal. The UK, we're putting in a huge amount of effort. Secretary of State Kemi Badenoch and I are both out here talking to GCC members. And the atmosphere in those talks is positive. We now need to move forward, move those talks further and get a good outcome, which I am confident that we will get a good outcome between the UK and the GCC. The atmosphere in those talks is extremely strong. I was out last month in Bahrain and Qatar. I've been here in the UAE this time. Met with Saudi Arabia, met with Oman, met with Kuwait as well. So we're talking, engaging with all 6 GCC countries. But it's a live negotiation, and I can't really reveal details much as I'd like to. Here on what is a live negotiation here with yourselves.
مع ذلك أنا سأخذ منك بعض التفاصيل. أنت بتقول what is in the deal هو المهم وليس وقت توقيع الاتفاقية. خليني أجرب أخذ شوية معلومات. ما هي القطاعات التي ستستفيد أكثر من غيرها في هذه الاتفاقية، خصوصا أنه نحن بنعرف بأنه دول الخليج يعني كمجموعة واحدة ليس لديها الكثير من اتفاقيات التجارة الحرة.
Well, I think the important things in the deal are, I find, 3 areas: goods, services and investment. Like all good FTAs, it covers all 3. I think on goods, the UK has got some amazing things to offer the GCC, which currently have quite large tariffs. Food and drink, automobiles in particular. I'd say on the services side, the financial services between the GCC and the UK can be very strong. Both sides are very strong financial services sectors. And also the UK can provide a lot of services that all 6 GCC countries have got ambitious programs of infrastructure, for example. And UK services like master planning, engineering, architecture, these kind of things can really help bring a win-win for both counterparts. A win for UK exports, but also a win here for GCC, particularly on the infrastructure side and other things where the UK can really add some value that will help Gulf economies produce the infrastructure plans that they've all set out, particularly in the next 6 years before 2030. And then I think on the investment side, big investors, we need to make sure that that investment can flow more predictably in a harmonious way and encourage more investment. The UK is both a big investor overseas and a big recipient of foreign direct investment, a lot of which comes from the Gulf. So those would be sides. So services, goods and investment, I would say, are the 3 most important areas.
معاليك النقطة الأخيرة هي موضوع البحر الأحمر. نحن بنعرف بأنه بريطانيا هي مشاركة وبشكل مباشر في محاولة إيقاف كل ما يحدث من محاولات من مجموعة الحوثيين لوقف حركة التجارة أو عرقلة حركة التجارة العالمية. سؤالي هنا، ما هو الموقف البريطاني بشكل واضح من هذه العرقلة، وما هي المخاوف البريطانية عن حجم تأثير ذلك على التجارة وبالتالي على الاقتصاد العالمي الذي لا يقف اليوم في حالة إيجابية، لأن نحن عم نشوف أنه أرقام الصين لا تزال غير ما هو متوقع. في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية ما تزال الأمور غير جيدة. ألمانيا كاقتصاد أيضا لديها الكثير من المشاكل، فبالتالي مشكلة كهذه ستؤثر على الاقتصاد العالمي ككل.
Well, I think the Red Sea is obviously a very, very important shipping lane, and still about 89%, for example, of UK trade goes by sea. So we're not unusual in that. So a huge amount of global trade does go by sea, and a big part of that goes via the Red Sea. So I think it is quite right that we take the action that we have been doing. The illegal and dangerous attacks on world shipping carried out by some forces in Yemen is something which we have to take very, very seriously. That is why we are working with our allies, with a global coalition to make sure that we defend shipping in those lanes and make sure that we bring this aggression to an end.
نقطة أخرى هنا دعني يعني أناقشها. بعد كل ما قامت به بريطانيا والولايات المتحدة الأمريكية، هل تعتقدون بأننا نوعا ما قد أمنا هذا الطريق؟ يعني هل هناك تقدم؟
Well, I think it's really important for us to recognize these are dangerous, unlawful attacks on global shipping. And we cannot sit on our hands and allow this to happen. So we need to make sure that our actions are both proportionate as well. We need to make sure that they strike at the units, the people who are carrying this out. That's also really, really important. Our conflict is not with the Yemeni people. Our conflict is with those who are seeking to actively endanger life, as well as commerce in these important global shipping lanes. So I think it's too early to tell what effect it's had. We need to make sure that we have a vigorous position with a coalition of forces and different countries who are very, very willing to help keep that shipping lane open and defend life, really, is what we're talking about here, life on those ships in the Red Sea that have come under this unlawful attack.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Thank you.